Hello YouTube, it's me Vdeogamer, and today I'm going to be drawing Mastercheif from the Halo 4 cover art. And this is going to be a brand new tutorial. It's going to be pretty long because there's going to be a lot of detail involved, but I think it's going to look pretty awesome by the time I get it done. And without further ado, let the drawing begin. Yeah. I like saying that a lot. That's what I said from the first episode. Then for a while I stopped saying it, but then I started saying it again for how to draw video game characters weekly. So yeah, it's like a catchphrase, you know. I'm just gonna stop now. I'm drawing. Alright guys, so I'm going to be starting off my drawing of Mastercheif from the Halo 4 cover art by going directly into my sketch. For the last how to draw, I did a concept sketch beforehand, but since I'm going to be making this drawing right off of the cover art for Halo 4, I'm not going to spend time on that this time because I'm just going to use what's given to me. But I am going to make this as step by step as I can. That way you guys will also know how to draw Mastercheif as well. So first things first, we're going to start with a very light sketch. I call this a rough sketch. And this is so that we can get the general shape of our character before we actually start going into the details. And I think he's pretty centered. And even if he's not, it's okay because perfectly centered is boring. We're just drawing roughly where the different parts of his armor are going to go, just the main shapes. And that's the key about rough sketching, really, is just drawing in large main shapes that you can later go back into and detail up. We're just putting in a few guidelines for the face to help us determine where he's going to be looking, what direction, and sort of where his visor is going to be ahead of time. And I'm going to do a bit more detail on his arms here, just to wrap up the rough sketch, and figure out where exactly his arms are going to be in relation to his whole body. Alright, so now that I've got this rough sketch finished, the next part I'm going to do is the details for the head. I'm just going to get started on my detailed sketch, and we're going to begin cutting in the actual features of Mastercheif. That is going to be mainly on his helmet here. And as you can see, we're just trying to get a rough shape for the helmet down, trying to match it as best we can. I think his head is actually going to be a little bit thinner than what I sketched it out to be. And even though Mastercheif doesn't have very many facial details in the way of an actual face that we can see, you've got to make sure that you get the details of his helmet right, because this is how we really define the character. If you get something off, then he's not really going to look like himself. So I am going to be spending a little bit more time here than I normally would with other parts. That's okay. For this, I am using a very specific source image. I'm going to post a link to it in the description, but basically a source image is a picture of whatever character you're drawing, and you just basically base your drawing off of that character. Sometimes I like to change the poses from my source image, but as you can tell, I'm not doing that for this drawing, because I want to keep things simple and yet very useful for you guys. And these parts up here on the helmet are going to be very detailed. As you can see, it curves around a lot. Alright, so we've got that top part done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to begin work on the visor. This is going to be a rather simple shape. You're not going to see the top of it based upon how his face is slanted, but it is going to come down, and it's sort of going to make an arrow shape at first. We're going to modify this a bit, and in the center of his visor area here, there's going to be a little dip into it. And now the key that's really going to make the visor look like it's bent around his face is that rather than leaving it arced like we had for the sketch of it, we're going to bring it around sort of like a circle. Smoothly bringing it around his face. Just like that. For the lower part of the helmet, we've pretty much got the same kind of details going on. Here we're going to have what seems to be a breather, part of his spacesuit, I guess. And it's broken up from the sides here, but the sides are also going to pop out a bit, and they're going to wrap around the whole of the lower part of his helmet. And especially for armor like Mastercheif's, you definitely want to make it as angular as you can. That way it looks very industrial, I guess. That's one way of putting it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a mechanical pencil, and we're sort of going to make sure I've got all the lines where I want them to be. Lots of things have changed from the actual original picture, I think, and that's just because of the fact that it's just a hand replication, so it's not going to be exact, and there's not really a way for me to make it exact. I could do a grid, but I don't really want to do that in this instance, because it'll take longer, and it's not quite as fun for me. So we're just going to see what we can do with this, and hopefully it turns out alright. We're going to use the mechanical pencil to outline the lines that we really want to keep. Now comes the next part of this drawing, where we are going to begin work on Mastercheif's actual body. We finished the head, now we're going to get started basing the sketch of our body so that way it's going to fit where the head is that we've just drawn, because our sketch is going to be off a little bit, and that's okay, because we drew very lightly when we did our sketch, and it will be easy to fix. I'm going to continue on with that. Basically, as simple as a shape I can make this out to be, and on the inside here, there's going to be another part to this armor. Sort of going to bring that up a bit more, but on the inside, coming towards his breathing part of his mask, we're going to have this sort of quarter circle shape coming up towards it. And in the center here, you've kind of got a sort of narrow at the top hexagon shape that is formed by an opening in his armor. And these are just all sorts of details of the armor. There's tons of them. I'm just trying to get the main shapes for now, but you guys probably won't be able to follow me very well unless you have a source image of your own. The one I used below might be your best option since it is what I'm using, but it's up to you. Detailed part of his armor is going to be all the rough spots and all the battle damage on it from all the countless battles he's had and all the countless times he saved the world, pretty much. First, we're going to determine where his hand here actually ends, where it stops going down, and that's going to be slightly lower than this piece of armor here. It's going to be about at the end of that. If you're not used to drawing arms, pretty much just use your arm as a basis. You can kind of tell the different shape, and you can tell how there's a bulge in the elbow here. You need to also include that as well. You need to realize that there are a lot of different angles in an arm that actually make it look right. And now the next thing we're going to do for this is we're going to start drawing the armor that's on his arms. This piece of armor here, his shoulder plate, I don't really know if it's a shoulder plate, but it comes up and around way above his actual arm. And just as a rough shape, it's sort of like a triangle. It's going to cover his arm there. And it's actually going to be split in the middle, coming back like that. And now the next segment of armor on his arm is going to start right about here, just above the joint slightly. And this piece of armor is going to extend down all the way to his hand here. Going to stop about here. And then on the other side here, Seems like he might have another piece of armor going around. And that this armor kind of surrounds this part of his arm. And finally down to his fist, we've got the thumb coming around. It's the main part here. Starts back there and comes all the way around. We've got the other fingers curling around there, going off into the distance. It's hard to tell what it looks like because of all the shadowing they did and the shading, but we're just going to make this as realistic as we can. So basically we're going to use the same process for the first arm, and we're going to replicate that on the second arm, just slightly different. The position of his armor and whatnot is different, but it is still generally the same. And now the final part of this other arm is going to be his hand here. You've got the thumb coming around, just like that, and then successively the fingers come down in a fist. The fingers all meet up at the tips, but on the knuckles here, they sort of rise and start to fall again with the first finger. We're going to draw all these fingers in. Just like that. And it is really hard to see all the details here, but it seems like his fist sort of curves like this. You can see the side of his pinky finger here, but you can also see the side of his first finger up here, and that is a very complex detail that I didn't really notice at first, but you gotta include it for it to look right. And as you can see here, guys, I added the Halo 4 logo below. And I actually tried explaining how to draw it, but I forgot to hit the record button, so I'm just going to briefly go over what I did. I want to stress the importance to you guys about whenever you put a logo into your drawing, whenever you're going to hand draw a logo, you need to make it look nice. I've seen several drawings where people just throw in a logo just because they say, hey, this will help it out. But if you don't spend the time on the logo, it can actually detract from your drawing a bit and make it not as good and not as appealing to the eye. You won't believe how much a logo and text can add to a drawing. And basically I spent a little bit of time sketching my logo in several different ways. It was a bit too large at first, so I scaled it down quite a bit. And I finally got it to the shape I wanted. And by the time I got over here to placing the 4 for Halo 4, it was actually too close to his fist, so I put it underneath the fist to sort of add interest to it. We're going to start on the inking phase of this drawing. And basically what that means is we're going to take a pigment pen, an outliner, and we're going to basically outline all the lines we want to keep on Mastercheif. I'm starting off with a size 0.3 at first. This is going to give us a fairly good line to work with. Whenever you're outlining, you need to be very careful with your lines. You need to go across them as smoothly as you can. Definitely make sure it's in line you want to keep, because you will not be able to erase this once it is outlined. These things are permanent. This is going to give us some nice defined bold outlines. It's going to help us separate the colors a lot. However, one of the advantages of having a set of different line sizes is that you can pick a smaller line size, like say 0.1 for instance, and you can actually outline the details in a smaller size. This allows you to get some more detailed work going on. And then for the very fine details of Mastercheif's armor, we're going to use a 0.05. This is even smaller than a 0.1. And we're just barely going to touch the paper with this one. Pretty much we're just going to continue on using these 3 sizes for the rest of Mastercheif's body and outline. The 0.5 tool is also good for sort of texturing the armor in the rough spots. And now we're doing the final part of the outlining, which is the helmet. This is one of the most detailed parts. I don't think it is the most detailed, but we are going to take a bit more time on it since it is the actual face of the character. It has a lot to do with what they look like. Now for the visor itself, we're going to put up the 0.3, and we're going to take out our 0.1. We're going to outline the visor here. We want to make sure that these edges are defined, and that completes the edge of the visor here. That sort of shows where it's bending, or where it's bent around his face. And now we're going to use our super fine point 0.5, and we're going to see if we can get some of these even smaller details here on the visor. And the next step in cleaning up our drawing with the inking is we're going to erase all of the underlined pencil underneath our drawing. We're going to preserve all the lines because we inked them, but it is going to clean up the drawing significantly, and it's going to get it ready for coloring. Alright, now comes the final process in our drawing. We are going to begin coloring and shading Mastercheif. Now, what I like to do whenever I'm coloring is I like to start off with a base coat color. Pretty much this is just a light color of whatever color I'm going to be coloring. For this, it's going to be the green of his armor. We're going to start off with a light grass green, and this is going to give us a nice even shade to start out with. This is also going to help us get rid of most of the white underneath of our colors. And by the time we get done with it, overall, it is just going to give us a much better shade than we would have had otherwise. I'm going to do a simple yellow to start off the visor. We want to be rather light with this since we do want to put in some extra highlights here. And then from there, you just want to use the same technique for all the other colors on Mastercheif. We don't really have that many more colors, but whatever colors there are, just start off with a base coat color, and then I'll show you what to do after that. Now we're going to be in the actual shading process. We're going to get out a couple different colors of green, just right here. And we're going to start off with a darker color first. This one's true green. And we're going to pick where we want our lighting source to be. Since the lighting source is already determined in this drawing, it's behind him, there's some light in front of him, and it's mostly reflected light in front of him. But since the main light source is going to be to the sides and behind him, all the darker shadows are going to be in the center here. Let me show you what I mean. Basically, and take our darker green, and we're going to shade inwards from the light source. This inner part here isn't really going to have too much light reflecting on it. We're also going to use the coloring as a chance to get some more texture in there as well, though. And when you're coloring a character who has a lot of highlights, it'd be good to use a sharp colored pencil, because you can get a little bit finer lines, and you can also help define your lines a bit better. Now this green, ironically, is a bit too green, so we're going to take a gray in here. We're sort of going to dull it down. Let's use a bit of a warmer gray. I'm just going to dull down this color, maybe wash it out a bit with our eraser. Make it look worn, and then we're going to use our gray and fill in those spots once more. And around the visor we're going to use a darker gray, very carefully, and we're sort of going to smooth the color out towards the edges here, sort of bringing it back out to the green, but this is also going to further emphasize the golden yellows and the oranges on the visor and make them stand out from the rest of the whole character. And my art teacher recently gave me a new tool to use. This is an eraser pen. I think they're pretty common. This one doesn't even have the brand name on it. Well, it does. It's Faber-Castell, and it's an eraser pen. Basically, it's the size of a normal pencil eraser, but it has a lot more eraser to it than a normal pencil, and you're not as likely to wear it out, and it'll help you get some of those nicer highlights on the edges there. That's starting to look really good. We're getting some nice dark values here. we're going to come in real quick with a black just around the very edges of the visor. We definitely do not want to cross over it. We can help it. And we're just going to give it that much darker of a shade here. His visor has 3 main highlights. He's got 2 on the sides here where those lines are. And he's got 1 in the very center at the top. Just like that. We want to try and get those as bright as we can. Get rid of as much of the color as we can. And now we're going to take our yellow again. And we're sort of going to outline where this highlight is going to be. Give it a little bit harder of an edge. We're going to bring in an orange color now. I'm going to start filling it in even more. And we're even going to bring in a darker orange. Just once again for that contrast that we're looking for. Mostly in the center of the helmet. And we're even going to go all the way up to a light brown. Maybe a darker brown. We need a darker brown. Here, brown umber. We're going to leave a few highlights. But we're also going to start putting in some darker shades as well. For this drawing, you definitely want to use a source image if you're doing all the details that I'm doing shading wise, because that will give you a visual of where all the highlights are located, where all the shadows are located, and it's just going to help out overall. So continuing on here, doing the same thing that we've been doing, getting our color down, washing it out for shading, and then going in with our gray color, whatever color you choose to use, and filling up these spaces once more, leaving some highlights. For the last bit of this armor, I've just got to finish up the arms and the gray on the underarms, and then I'm going to show you guys how to color the logo. The logo is actually going to include some of the colors from the visor, but it's mostly going to be blue like our background is going to be. First, we're going to wash out these colors here and get back to work on our shading. And really quickly here, I feel like some of the green in certain places isn't just as dark as it needs to be to get the shadows that we're looking for. So I'm going to go in with one final green, a green blue. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to bring this green blue in, start shading around the edges here. Now, the logo actually sort of introduces us to a new color in this drawing, which is going to be a variety of different shades of blue. We're going to do our base coat color thing again. Start off with a light blue. I sort of want to make sure that I don't have too many colors interfering with the logo from spilling over from the drawing, so we're sort of going to erase around it a bit. Plus, this might end up making it look like it's glowing just a smidge. Smidge. How much is a smidge anyway? I don't know. Anyway, continue on shading, just like this. Bring in some nice light blues for the start, then we'll begin shading. Next step, we're going to take a slightly darker blue now, and we're going to begin our first shades. Make sure that you have some sharpened colored pencils for this part. We're going to do some very fine shading. And the 4 itself actually takes on a different color scheme. We still have some of these nice blues in here. We're going to be a bit rougher in appearance though. Some slightly darker blues at the top of these letters, not too much. And now we're going to come in with yet another darker shade of blue. This one's a royal blue. And I think we'll do one last shade of dark blue. It's going to be on the darkest areas of the letters. Kind of want the color of the blues to sort of be a little bit dulled down / a little bit of a purple color. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a purple. Anyway, we're taking our eraser and we're making a horizontal highlight going across our letters here. And it's okay if it goes over the character a little bit for the start of it. And now, like I said on the 4 has a little bit different of a color scheme. It actually introduces us to some of the yellows and oranges once more that were found on his visor. These just come down, around, right on the edge of the purple we added in. Now the Halo 4 cover art has a lot of stuff going on in the background. It introduces us back to the blue colors, and it sort of ties up the whole drawing. But because of the detail in the background, I'm not going to be doing all of it. I'm mostly going to be fixating on the colors of the background, mostly because I have a limited amount of time that I can continue working on this drawing. So we're going to come back in here, and around Mastercheif, I'm going to start off with a light blue. Just an airy light blue. Oh. One last thing. Before we really begin, see if you can take an eraser and erase all the smudges that are around your character real quick. Either from colored pencil or sketching. Just get rid of all those. Now, like I said, we take this light blue and we're just going to go around him just a little bit from the edge of this character. And now we're going to start in with our next shade of color, which is going to be once again a slightly darker blue. This is going to be pretty close to Mastercheif's actual body. But we're also going to extend this farther into our background here. And now we're going into a royal blue for our next shade. Bring it out, starting here. And the problem with this is that this is a little tiny pencil because of how much I've used it. We're going to make do with what we got, and we're going to spread it out. Another shade of blue, navy blue. We're going to try and get close to our black now. Bring this all the way to the edges out here. We're going to put black on the very edges to darken this drawing up. And one thing that people don't realize about a colored pencil drawing, or any drawing for that matter, if you don't take your dark colors all the way out to the edge of whatever you're coloring, it kind of ruins the darkness and it makes it seem not as dark as it could, and really kind of unfinished. It takes longer to color all the way to the edges, but it does make it look better by the time you get it done. It's sometimes just those little things that can make the difference. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 final colors to finish up the shading on this. I'm going to use a plum right here, and I'm going to use a black, which doesn't have a name on it, but it's black, or close to it. And that is going to wrap up this drawing, and here soon we're going to be at the outro. Thank you guys for watching. And here is my finished drawing of Mastercheif from the Halo 4 artwork. I think the lettering was a bit hard to see from a distance, and that's because it was the same color as the background. The background should have been darker, but it was taking a long time to color, and the background's not really the focus, neither is the logo. The focus here is this drawing of Mastercheif. This is my best drawing of Mastercheif, probably 2nd or 3rd time drawing him, ever. And if you want to see the last time I drew him, it was also an older How to Draw Video Game Characters episode. Here it is. This is the older one. This was recorded way back in How to Draw Video Game Characters Set 5, and this one was actually turned into a digital artwork. I drew it by hand first, outlined it with Sharpie, scanned it into the computer, and then colored it with paint, which took forever. I think I've improved dramatically since I last did a drawing of Mastercheif. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you like this drawing, you should subscribe because I plan on making more drawing tutorials like this. This sketchbook is almost out of pages, but I will be starting a new sketchbook, and I will be wanting to fill it with tons more drawings just like these. And also, you should know that I take requests on drawings. This was a request from a contest winner, and you can just send me a normal request if you want to by going to my channel, sending me a message, typing your character name, and then giving me a link to see that character. I don't know why I have to do this every time I'm talking. But anyways, once again, thank you guys for watching this drawing tutorial video thing, and until next time, keep on drawing. Yeah. Alright, now I'm just gonna go before this gets awkward. Too late, darn it. Now I have to stay here and do something entertaining. No.